So, I'm glad to be here, and Theo will set up the timer for me. So, so today I would like to talk about the testing iceberg, testing pyramid, so generally about this set of problems. And when I prepared for this presentation last year, I just put up this slide, and actually this slide is supposed to represent that. Obviously, I have heard about the testing pyramid for a long time, but it looked like for me that the more I learn from it and more I try to adapt it, the more problems and questions I have. So it's like a kind of trying to call up the thing. This is why I have included this slide, but the slide has taken over the presentation. So actually, the first time when I wanted to present this talk, I got ill, so I had to cancel the conference. Then the next time when I tried to do that, my train had an accident. Fortunately, with the next train, I could reach the presentation. And this is the third time when I'm trying to do this. And yesterday, my flight had to turn back from the runway because there was a serious engine problem. And then I arrived here to London like 2 a.m., and then it turned out that my hotel room is flooded. So I had to transfer to another hotel, where it turned out that they have some problems, and they know that they have free rooms, but they don't know which ones are free. So at 3 a.m., we were just unlocking doors and looking into that there is someone sleeping inside. But finally, they found me an empty room. So at 4 a.m., I was able to get to the bed. So I don't know what will happen today. It probably makes sense to note the nearest exit to you, which might be behind you. Yeah, let's see. Some facts about myself, I don't want to talk about that. If you would like to get some monthly dose of BDD news, I recommend you to subscribe to my free BDD newsletter, bddaddict.com. I'm trying to share all the interesting articles that I read during every month. So if you like to do that or also get information about that, I can really recommend to you to do that. But let's get back to pyramids, and let's get back to the testing pyramid. And in the morning we have seen this talk about repeat yourself. And when I was at some point of my losing confidence about the testing pyramid, I thought that okay, maybe it would be a good time to go back to the original book, to Mike Cohn's book, and read about that, how he was describing the testing pyramid. And I was a little bit surprised by the result, even though that I was reading that book many years ago. I'm trying to find a good spot where you see my slides and you also see me. So basically, I'm just putting some quotes from the book. This is a book. Book is telling a story. And probably in his storytelling, he was talking a lot about unit testing before. So he was starting with the unit testing. And he was saying that although automated unit testing is wonderful, it can cover only so much of an application testing needs. Okay? And this is because, so without this service level testing, a little bit of forward reference, all other testing ends up being performed through the user interface, resulting in the tests that are expensive to run, expensive to write, and brittle. Okay? And after that, he was saying that actually this middle layer, this service layer, is basically a compensation for that, or a little bit of compromise for that. So service level testing is supposed to fill in the gap between the unit testing and interface testing. So this is more or less how he's describing that. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, but based on this description, and which is probably because of the story of the book, you feel that it's not three equal levels in the pyramid, but there is the unit level and there is the two other level, right? So this is what people are usually interpreting it in a way that yes, we want to have unit testing, which is the programmer's thing, right? And we want to have the other testing, which is the tester's thing, right? And this is how we are building up silos based on an agile book, right? So this is how the things go wrong. And I've seen this many times that people are saying that, yeah, unit test is the developer's thing. You shouldn't even know about what they are doing there. This is their stuff. We should only focus on the functional testing, which is actually mapped to these two other layers. maybe the other problem is that, and then the problems are coming that, okay, so did we write enough unit tests? How should I do that? And what kind of levels I should write my tests into? And maybe instead of seeing that, maybe we should rather try to challenge things, or at least start to, based on the pyramid and based on what it was saying, we should maybe ask some questions so that, what can we do to make our UI test not that expensive, or at least not that brittle? Right? It's an interesting challenge. Or what would happen if our unit test wouldn't be just for the developers, or also that what is outside of the testing pyramid? Usually we say testing pyramid, which is a very bad phrasing, because it is a test automation pyramid. But since people are shortening the word, they think that this is about testing. And Janet Gregory was putting this small cloud on top to show that there are some other ways of testing as well, but we tend to forget about that. So probably this is the reason why it's very rarely visible that you can see a nice shaped test pyramid. So you rather see another forms of that, and since the pyramid is a very strong visual effect, probably this is why people are also giving also good visual representations of these different behaviors or different other interpretations of the setup. So you know the testing ice cream cone, which is having a lot of UI tests, or maybe the testing hourglass, which is not really focusing on the service level testing, or maybe some kind of testing diamond, and maybe there are a lot of others as well. So this is probably why we get to there. So let's see a concrete example, and let's see how, especially in the scope of BDD and in the scope of these kind of scenarios that we do with BDD, this happens. So let's say that we have a BDD scenario, like a Cucumber or SpecFlow scenario. So since this is more critiquing the product and not supporting the development, people think that, okay, the right place should be somewhere in the UI. And then we have another scenario as well, and the two scenarios looks exactly the same. They are both automated with Cucumber. They are both using the gherkin format. So how should I decide? So then they should be also equally automated. So this is how people are getting to this, that they are automating all of their gherkins and all of their scenarios in the UI, right? This is how this ice cream stuff comes into the picture. Or what is also happening, that say that, UI tests are slow and brittle, so let's do everything in a service level. Right? Because they are all equal, they are all gherkin scenarios. So, but what is happening then, and actually without probably even noticing, we have introduced some kind of testing gap. So all these decisions are too oversimplifying the thing. So maybe we should think a little bit more about what we are doing here, what is our goal. So actually, and if you read once more what Mike Cohn was saying, that actually our goal should be to get a kind of good enough quality. This is our ultimate goal with the fast feedback. This is how the testing pyramid is actually based on, and the reasonable costs. So this is what is our goal, and our goal is not to make unit tests or UI tests or service tests, but our goal is to have a good quality with some manageable costs. Okay. But what does good quality means? And I will not go into a detailed description of what quality is, because it's something which is very hard to define, if it's possible at all. But what I say instead, and what is typically what I'm doing, is to see the different aspects or different classification of quality. I mean, there are plenty of different classification outside. This is just mine, and you can also substitute this with yours. So I typically like to think about the quality in these three aspects. The first one is the functional aspect, where what is functional quality means, and typically when you ask people what functional quality is, they say that the application should behave as expected, right? This is the generic definition, but actually this is not only that. It's not only enough that the application is working as expected, but we have to know that what are those expectations, and these expectations have to be good and consistent. Okay, so this is why we are using BDD. By the way, this is just to make clear how the expected behavior works. The second one, which I have stolen the word from Kevlin, so he's calling it operational quality. This is where typical things like secure, fast, convenient, pretty, whatever things can go. And and there is another one, or there is a third one as well, probably even more, because you can write an application which is functioning well, which is fast enough and secure, but you cannot really implement any change in that because it's not really maintainable. So there is another kind of quality that we would like to achieve, so that that we can keep this application somewhat long-living. I'm calling it strategic quality. Of course, you can call it differently as well. This is where maintainability, good architecture, code quality, and things like that come into the picture. Okay, so these are so I usually try to think about these kind of aspects. And for each individual application, try to evaluate what kind of elements of that are important. Okay, so let's try to map that into the pyramid. Let's focus first on this functional aspect. So let's say that we have these functional requirements, which are typically represented with BDD scenarios, and to be able to avoid this testing gap, let's say that somehow we decided to implement one in the UI level and two other in the service level, or more other in the service level. But actually, this is not necessarily enough. So maybe there are some other problems, still functional, and still problems like a business important edge case, or somewhere where we have a lot of data variations, which is much easier to test in the UI level, in the unit level. Also, if you think about the other quality aspects, I don't want to go too much into that, but we can imagine how general operational, like a robustness quality check can be implemented in the UI. That could be maybe a smoke test, right? If this is important for us. Or if you want to just check that our UI is having a good connection to the service, even though that we are checking the UI, but maybe we are checking it with a unit test, which is running in the browser. Also, other things can be mapped to that, and also strategic quality is not necessarily mapping to the unit test. So, of course, if you are thinking about some like a method argument check, maybe that's a unit test. But let's imagine that you have a system which is supporting plugins. If you are implementing a test plugin, just to see whether your plugin infrastructure will work, which is providing you some support for future flexibility, then this can be maybe implemented in the service level. So there is not really a matching between the different layers and the different functional aspects that we were talking about. This is what we are saying, that people are seeing unit testing as a goal, but it looks like that it's more a tool that we have to use more smartly. On the other way around, people are asking that, okay, this is all fine, but how should I decide whether I do some of the tests with BDD or not, right? And this is where we get to the concept of the testing iceberg. And I was thinking about where I have heard the concept of testing by iceberg first, and I think I have heard it from Seb. So I don't know who is actually was coming up with the idea, but I definitely I think have seen in his blog post. So. My PowerPoint animation skills are showing you that how to get to the testing iceberg is just you have to turn this away, and then you will get something like an iceberg where you still have the same scenarios or the same tests mapped to the pyramid, but basically you can see that there are some which are business interesting, and there are some which are technical, right? And actually this is supposed to give us some answer, or at least some guidance of what we want to automate using BDDs. We want to use BDD primarily for the business interesting cases, because this is where we want to get feedback from the business, and maybe we want to have all the others in another level. And actually, I mean, the testing iceberg is basically explaining how the BDD scenario is mapped to the pyramid. But actually, this is not limited. The entire concept is not limited to that. As you have seen, all the other aspects are also can be mapping to different levels of the pyramid. So actually, it looks like that we have even more voter lines there. And all the things that we primarily think that, okay, just because we are testing the UI, we need UI testing, or just because we are testing integration, we need integration testing. These are not true. So they are not equal. Yeah, so different representation of that is to see it as a kind of prism that actually all these different quality aspects should all crossing the different levels of the pyramid. So you should really get a use of that. And what is also very important, that just to remember that this is just a test automation pyramid, and there are some things outside of that, like for example exploratory testing to support you with the functional quality, maybe for some security aspect, the code analysis, or maybe for ensuring a better strategy quality, maybe you introduce more programming. These are also all contributing to the overall quality of your system, and they are not typically not categorized even as tests. Okay, so what is the conclusion then? Is maybe that this testing pyramid shouldn't be seen as a goal, but more like a tool which is helping us to think about how we should that we can we can find the right tools for addressing those quality criteria that we would like to achieve, and instead of trying to find some way of shaping our tests, just generating more unit tests to have a better pyramid shape, we should rather try to see that, okay, what are the quality requirements of our application, and build up a strategy which is mapping these quality expectations to the different possibilities that we might have, which can be automated tests, which can be also other things as well, like more programming or static code analysis or whatever. So this should be my message. So you should try to find your own strategy. No one will tell you what is overall working, and you should build up your own pyramid with that. Thank you very much.